You know, it was a time that people thought that $60 was a ripoff for this little compilation. Well, now someone has spent over $1.5 million on a sealed copy of Mario 64, and I hate it. Let's talk about it. So welcome back, guys, to another video. And first and foremost, I'm not going to get too deep into the article that's been floating around the last week now of this copy of sealed Mario 64 that's selling for over 1.5 million that was sold, and there's a lot of controversy with this. I mean, there's people that are talking about how this could be a scam, how this is, overinflation and all this stuff, and I'm not getting into that. But when I saw that this game initially sold for that much from the Heritage auctions, I was like, this single-handedly kills a lot of retro collecting. And listen, retro collecting has not been fun for years. Okay, it's become more of a business. It's become more of a. It's not even a hobby anymore. I quit years ago because it got to the point where when I used to collect retro games, it was because I was a cheap guy. I was a cheap kid. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I would have $40, and I'd go to Funko Land, and I'd be like, you know what? Could I take this $40 and buy a PlayStation 1 game brand new, or could I buy like 5 or 6 NES games and have just as much fun? Because I didn't care about graphics. Still don't. But of course, it got to the point where you would go to a mom and pop shop and you would find someone that were looking at retro games. And you'd be like, hey, oh, I see you're looking at the Sega CD. Have you played Terminator on the Sega CD? That's a really good game. And they'd be like, how rare is that game? How much is it worth? When it got to that point, I was like, this hobby is not a hobby anymore. It's a freaking business. And seeing that game sell for that much. And I mean, retro games have been selling for a lot for a long time. Okay, this isn't the first time that this has happened, but to this scale is a whole nother story. The reason why I'm not a big fan of this game selling for $1.5 million, no matter how much you want to look at it and how much you want to make excuses being like, well, it's sealed and it's on the water scale, and it's very uncommon that a sealed Mario 64 never gets opened. That's just mind-blowing. Before you get to that whole thing, not everyone collects retro games, okay? Someone who doesn't collect retro games is going to see that article and think that a copy of Missile Command on the Atari 2600 is a freaking gold mine. Because they're going to read that article, and they're like, oh, damn. I got a whole box full of these Atari games, and this was the first console that ever came out. This going to be, Deborah, honey, we just hit the gold mine. Go ahead and get Fred. We need to get the Escalade right now. And before you know it, you're going to go to a flea market or some sort of thrift store, and they're going to be having this game behind glass cases, and they're going to be trying to charge like $60 for this. Because in their mind, this is an older game, and a newer game sold for $1.5 million, complete sealed. So why wouldn't this game that's older, been holding it upside down the whole time, why would this game the whole time, why wouldn't this be worth more? Or at least half, or at least a quarter of it. Like an inch. It's one of the reasons why I've embraced emulation. Now listen, emulation is not perfect, okay? I will tell people to the end of my days, if you want the perfect retro experience, get yourself a CRT, get yourself the old consoles, play on original hardware, go back to the days of the 90s when you were wearing your Jinko jeans, eating Gushers, drinking Capri Sun, and watching TRL, or whatever the hell you were watching at the time. Go do that. Freaking go. But honestly, even CRTs are getting hard to come by now. So, yeah, it's really getting to that point that emulation is a great way, and I feel like a lot of the reasons why a lot of people haven't embraced emulation yet is because of the lack of education. Not a whole lot of people, they see it as like some sort of crazy like hacking thing, and I don't know how to mod a console, and there's nothing wrong with the YouTube education, guys. You have channels like ETA Prime, you have Wicked Gamer, who does all these reviews on all these different consoles, and all these different Chinese products. China has been making some really, really stellar stuff. There's still a lot of crap out there. There's still a lot of stuff that's like, 8,000 games in one NES cartridge. Half of it's just all bootleg garbage. But there is some great things out there. And for God's sakes, if you buy any of this stuff, do not buy it on Facebook Marketplace. And I have a little rant coming on right here. It's something I hate seeing on my Facebook feed all the time, where someone is selling some Pandora box, they're selling some Raspberry Pi, they're selling some sort of console that they act like they've been inside their basement on their part-time while they're not working at PetSmart. They're in their basement, and they're figuring out microchips, and they're figuring out, code and all this stuff, and they're making this console they're trying to sell to you, and in reality, they're buying it off in bulk on AliExpress for $25 and selling it to you for $250. I absolutely hate that. I expose it every time I see it on Facebook. I always report it, and I'm like, this is just freaking wrong. And I'll be honest, if more people embraced emulation when it comes to these retro games, these old consoles, if they embrace that concept and maybe educate themselves, maybe get into the hobby. I mean, emulation itself, when you start learning how to mod consoles, old consoles, or you start to learn certain nooks and crannies, it becomes a hobby within itself. When you start getting into that, I think that's when we'll see the bubble pop. For those who are waiting with bated breath for those glorious days of going to Funkoland and finding, Chrono Trigger for $12. That's never going to happen. But it's more a reality if more people played emulation. I'll be honest. I'll be honest about it. I'll be honest. But yeah, when I saw that pop up on the news feed, I was like, yeah, this is stupid. This is dumb. I can't justify it. But anyway, guys, what do you think about the state of retro collecting? And these games selling for over $1 million now. Are you like me and you're thinking like, this single-handedly kills so much potential for those Saturday morning thrift finds and game hunting, and it's just a shell of its former self, man. It's progressing faster and faster. Anyway, guys, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, but also hit that bell so you're notified on all future videos that come out on this channel. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, happy gaming.